Welcome back to the Justin Rombough podcast. The Rombough men are back for another episode. This is the Memorial Day podcast. Now, both games, we'll start out with the NBA. Both games, 2-1 in the series. New York comes back down 20 to beat Indiana. What were some of your takeaways from Game 3?
Well, one of the things about that, Justin, is the road team has won every game in this series. It kind of caught everybody off guard, but the road teams have had very good success the playoffs in that. Again, the Pacers had a huge lead, but New York comes back, makes some key shots at the end, and the Pacers couldn't score. So it played New York in reverse when they were back in Madison Square Garden playing. So this really throws a monkey wrench in the series. It's not like the Pacers are just going to roll through them, but the road team winning all the time. This could be 7 games. They're very closely matched, and it's really going to get some good ratings in that with that series. And so I'm on the edge of my seats every game. And so we'll see how Game 4 goes. It could be another close one, and it could be a big lead lost, like for the other games. So anything can happen, and it's been really exciting watching. Or, of course, the playoffs as a whole in this series has really been dramatic.
Yeah, we saw in Game 1, as I mentioned in our previous video, the Pacers came back. Halliburton was able to hit that, what everyone thought was a game winner, but his foot was on the line. That was a crazy game. In this game, Indiana, 5 of 25 from 3, really didn't help their case. New York, Karl-Anthony Towns, he's shooting over 40% from 3. When you have that from a center, he didn't really shoot a lot of threes in the Celtics series, but they didn't really need that to get past Boston. In this game, he had 24 points and 15 rebounds. One thing that I wanted to bring up was Tom Thibodeau, a notorious having a short leash on his players. Their Knicks rotation, as we've mentioned, it has only really been 7 players deep. In this game, he went 9 players deep. He had Landry Shamet and DeLon Wright come in for 10-plus minutes. So I think that definitely helped New York come back in this game, just because when you only have 7 players playing in the game, people are going to get tired. Jalen Brunson only played 31 minutes in this game. He's been playing 40 minutes plus in every game in the playoffs, it seems. So I think a little bit of a rest for those star Knick players was helping them able to come back in this game.
Yeah, good point, because I've noticed both Oklahoma City and Indiana run 10 deep, which is kind of rare. Normally, most teams are 8 deep, but they're running 10 deep, and these other coaches, like you mentioned, the New York coach figured that out real fast and going to have to run 9 deep to get those players, and that helped, of course, New York, because they just get worn out. Going 48 minutes and possibly 53 if there's an overtime, you need 10 players. And I've looked in the past, like when Detroit won their championships in 89 and 90, they ran 9 deep, and most teams were running 8. And they lost one of their players to the expansion draft when Minnesota came in, because you can only protect 8 players. So these teams, if we get new teams like Oklahoma City and Indiana that run 10 deep, they're going to lose a player that they normally play if we get an expansion team. But New York did a good point as far as get more minutes to save the energy, because Brunson just gets worn out down there. He's doing so much for his team. He's getting more help, and that helped win, because he works so hard and he's so passionate, but he needs more help, and because you can't go 53 minutes in a row. It's too many. But this is an interesting series, because home court you throw out the window now. Anything goes.
If New York is able to pull off this series and Brunson is able to lead New York to the finals, do you think he'll be the most beloved Knick of all time in your lifetime?
Oh, no.
Because it's been Patrick Ewing.
Well, no disrespect to all the players in the past, and I know they won some titles back in the 70s and that. They won in 70 and 73, I believe. In fact, Indiana won ABA titles roughly the same time as the Knicks won NBA titles. It's almost exactly the same if you look it up. But Brunson will be right up there. But again, no disrespect to any of those past players. You got to rank them up too, because
Walt Frazier, Carmelo.
With the history buffs out there, you guys, I'm sure, can rattle off some Knick players that are just really good. But Brunson's right up there with them. But I don't want to say he's the player, because again, you got some of those like Walt Frazier and them, and they won those titles in the 70s. They were really good teams back then. And then, of course, Patrick Ewing, of course, yes. Mm-hmm.
switching gears, looking at the other series in the NBA, Minnesota beat Oklahoma City by 42 points in Game 3, shot 50% from three on 40 attempts. I think this was really just an anomaly. I think they were very desperate in this game. They had to win it. I think this could still be Oklahoma City series to lose. I think they can win. I see them winning in 5 or 6 games. I don't really think Minnesota has enough gas in the tank. What do you say?
It's possible. However, there is a historical thing here because the Suns, remember, ahead 2-0 and lost to Milwaukee. Milwaukee won 4 in a row when they won the championship. And back in 77, the Philadelphia 76ers were up 2-0 on the Trailblazers, and the Trailblazers with Bill Walton and them came back and won the championship. So it has happened. Although Oklahoma City is young, and I'm sure that their coach will light a fire and get them going, because if the Timberwolves do win 2 and to tie the series, if they were to sneak one out in Oklahoma City Game 5, they could steal the series 4-2. So the Thunder really have to win this game in Minneapolis, the next one, or else Minnesota could get some mo. And they're young, and so the Thunder probably learned a little lesson. They really got to be buckle under, because they got down 34-14 in the first quarter, and it was pretty much over. They just couldn't catch them. As you say, they didn't have enough gas in the tank to catch them. And so Oklahoma City's got a lot of fire, because they really need to win Game 4. Otherwise, Minnesota could steal it.
Yeah, this Final Four in the NBA is really interesting. There's not a lot of marquee players. There's not like a LeBron James or a Steph Curry or a Kevin Durant in these playoffs, and I think it'll be a really interesting. Whoever wins it all, I think it'll be Oklahoma City, but whoever does win it all, I think it'll be really fun for these fan bases that really haven't had anything to cheer for. Oklahoma City's never won, although they did win in Seattle. Minnesota's never won. Indiana, like you said, won in the ABA, but they haven't won in the NBA. The Knicks haven't won since the 70s. So it'll be very interesting to see who wins. Obviously, I think if it would be most detrimental to the United States if New York won, because I think it would burn to the city. We've already seen them burn down the city basically once already when they beat Boston. And they basically were ready to hang a banner just winning a second-round series, which, I mean, it's good for them. The Knicks fans haven't had anything to cheer for. New York fans in general, Jets fans have nothing to cheer for. Giants fans have nothing to cheer for. Nets fans have nothing to cheer for. So Celtics had their fun last year, so let everybody else have some fun in these Final Four games.
Well, yeah, I was just going to comment on all those teams haven't won, since way back when the 70s and that. Of course, Minnesota hasn't, so it would be very historic if any of these teams were to break through and win it. And hopefully there's no civil disorder in that, because there has been, riots in some of these cities that happen. But let's hope that there's civil order, that nobody goes too nutty, because we don't want to ruin things. The Chiefs had a shooting after they won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago and that. So hopefully it's peaceful and people get through it, because I know it's a long stretch, and Oklahoma City's never won it. They've won some championships in college ball. OU's won a lot of football titles, and Oklahoma State won a national championship when they were Oklahoma A&M back in the 40s. So there's things like that, but a pro team coming in there and winning would be something. Of course, their 79 team, when they had Jack Sickman, those guys won it against the then Washington Bullets. They're now the Wizards, but that was big for them. But again, and then Indiana, back when they had those teams in the 70s, won 3 of them, 70, 72, and 73. And of course, the Knicks won in 70 and 73 in the NBA. So again, real close. And of course, Minnesota, Minneapolis, of course, the Twins have won championships in that. But hopefully, again, there's civil order. We've been through 2 disasters with COVID and 9/11, so hopefully just kind of keep things tempered. We've been through some rough times, and just keep it easy in that. I know the New York fans are very passionate in that, and the Giants, they were good when they won their Super Bowls a while back, and then of course the Jets won in '69, Broadway Joe and them, and that. So we'll see what happens. Of course, the Yankees have many championships in that, so hopefully whoever wins it, everything goes good and is peaceful in that, because we don't want to temper a celebration with some difficulties. I know college teams have had riots in Tucson. We had a riot when we won the title in '97. So it just, hopefully there's civil order. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Cooper Flag going number 1 to the Mavericks?
Well, the Mavericks really lucked out because they were a low percentage team to get that pick. And so they really aced out. And because they really gave up a lot when they got, then traded away Luka to the Lakers and that. So Cooper Flag is really a gem for him to get that. They really lucked out getting that pick. And that, so again, he could really cause a lot of damage in the NBA. He's a good player. And we'll see how the Mavs do in that. So we'll see how it goes, and the other picks are the other players in that. I kind of wish the NBA had more than just 2 rounds, because when Jeff Hornacek, back in the day, they had 7 rounds, and Jeff Hornacek was like a 7th rounder, and he was so passionate. He made the Suns. He was the last player to make it because he was so passionate. Even though a lot of players were better, they didn't have the attitude he had, and he made it. And so there's always a lot of players, and they should go back to having more rounds, because 2 rounds, you can't build a team with two rounds. So they really should go more like the NFL goes 7. But there's a lot of good players, and that to build a team, you need more than 2 a year. So, but it would be interesting who gets what and where they go and how much they build their teams and what trades teams make. You know, like with Boston, who knows? We talked about them rebuilding possibly, and that. So what changes? Like New York is loaded. They got some good. The Towns guy and that Bridges who used to play for Phoenix, he's really good. And of course Brunson leads the way. And you got Indiana and Oklahoma City are just loaded with these Greyhounds. A whole bunch of them, 10 of them they run. They're loaded. And Minnesota's got a bunch of Greyhounds that just run. And so they're all good and they'll find talent, but they see the other teams will see these Final Four and how they operate with 10-man rotations, and it'll change basketball. But see how the draft goes and see where they go. But Cooper Flag will really be an impact player for the NBA.
Because they say that it's a copycat league, and I think one of the main things I've noticed in these playoffs is Oklahoma City is pretty much like a copycat Boston. They just have a lot of bodies to throw at people, a lot of good athletes. Obviously, the top 7 of Boston last year was one of the best of all time, but Oklahoma City has they have a lot of great talent. They have the MVP obviously and SGA. What are your thoughts on the last 6 MVPs being non-American?
Well, we just discussed that, like when Boston, we did those videos when we did the Celtics, and I was watching those videos from the 40s, when they had Cousy and all those guys way back when in the 50s, and it was mostly white Americans was the only players they've had. And then now, of course, they have a lot of African Americans. 70% of the league is African American, and of course, the Europeans have come over a lot and made a big splash in the NBA. In fact, the last white to win MVP was Steve Nash, he's Canadian, and the last white American to win MVP was Larry Bird in the mid-'80s. So you can see that it hasn't happened where a North American white male has won and that the MVP. But again, the foreign guys, Luka Doncic and a whole bunch of them there and of course Porzingis is from Latvia and them. So there's a bunch of those guys from Europe that have really made a splash. And that, so again, they're really good athletes and stuff too, and have contributed greatly in that. So we'll see how it goes with the Europeans and that they've added everybody can play. We had the Asian American guy, Lou. Lou or whatever his name was really good, because a lot of times the Asian Americans get picked on that they end up being engineers or something and don't go into athletics. But Jeremy Lin did really good, and he made a big splash. I think he played from New York.
Yeah.
And so people are noticing Asian Americans now too. So they're contributing as well, and hopefully more of the ones growing up will say, hey, they're basketball, and go play basketball, and that. So it's helping when they have diverse players from different ethnic backgrounds and that. But they've all contributed greatly to the sport, and we'll have more even, as the years go by. They'll probably have more foreign, not just European, but other parts of the world too, and that. So again, I congratulate all the players and what the efforts they've made to build up the NBA since the 40s, I think is when it started up. So yeah, really good.
Did you have any other topics you wanted to hit?
In NBA or just others?
Others, yeah.
Oh yeah, I did want to cover the UFL a little bit. It's been really a lot of fun. Of course, the UFL doesn't get near the ratings that like the NBA or NFL or things like that, but it's very economical. And one of the things is the UFL Championship's going to be coming up in June 14th, I think it is. It's going to be in the Edward Jones Dome where the Battlehawks play. And tickets are only $29. So it's extremely economical. And what happens is the Big Four this year in the USL division are Michigan and Birmingham. And they're tied for first at 6-3, and they'll go to the playoffs. And they had a real shootout this Saturday. I was watching the game, and Birmingham pulled it out. It was like 26-22, a seesaw game. It was really good, and they played down the wire. And Skip Holtz has done a good job there at Birmingham. They've had good teams, and they won 3 championships. And it's going to be tough this year because St. Louis and DC are the other 2 teams. They're in the XFL division. St. Louis is 7-2, and DC 6-3. And those 4 will go to the playoffs. It's the top 4 teams, and then the shootout being St. Louis. Of course, the Battlehawks there in St. Louis draw the best. And so hopefully attendance does pick up with the teams, and they draw better. DC has some fun fans. I see them in the north end zone make this string cup, a snake full of cups real long, and they get kind of cool. So they do some crazy things, and then hopefully the crowds will pick up, but they're both all good teams. And the ones just behind them are the Houston, I think they're the Roughnecks, and then of course Arlington Renegades are both 4-5 in that. Bob Stoops is Arlington's coach in that. So they've done pretty good. And then Memphis, who was down at the bottom, actually beat Birmingham in the regular season in overtime, 24-20, I think it was. And the overtime rules are different than the other sports. They play a best out of 3 2-point conversions, so you go for 2 3 times, and whoever gets the most of those 3 wins. So that's why, and they won by 4 points, so they must have gotten 2 2-point conversions, and Birmingham didn't. So that's probably why they won by 4. So it's really a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the semifinals next week, and then the championship there in St. Louis. And those 4 are really good teams. It's going to be closely matched. I'm sure there'll be some close games and all. And with those crazy conversions, 1, 2, and 3-point conversions, you could be up 6 and then win it on a conversion. So, and then of course those ties were kind of weird with the overtime rules. So there'll be some close games. I'm sure they're very evenly matched. I think St. Louis will probably be favored to win it. They really got a good team. They won big against the Brahmas this last Saturday. So it's been fun following the UFL. And hopefully they get more teams. I saw some videos on the UFL and expansion teams, and they had a map of the U.S. when they had a listing of all the teams they could possibly have, and they had 2 stars listed in Arizona, meaning they would have a team in Tucson. So that would really be cool if Tucson were to get a team, and I would finance a trip for you and Alex to come down to Tucson. We go see a game down there. So it would be cool. We never had a professional team, and we do have a guy down there in Tucson that promotes sports, and he could probably get a team down there. But we would be one of the last teams picked because there's so many other cities that they picked in videos that would get a UFL team. They'd likely be the 30th team picked. So it'd be something how many they do get going, and hopefully the fans support the team. And there was 4 teams that were in the old USFL that got approval, I think, possibly to start up again. But I'm not sure which cities yet. But again, we'll see how it goes. And that was a lot of fun watching the UFL and it helped fill up the spring too. And then in sports, in college sports, I do want to make a plug for my alma mater, the University of Arizona. We won 3 championships in our first season in the Big 12. Men's tennis, women's golf, and a dramatic come-from-behind victory. We won the baseball Big 12 tournament championship. We were number 4 seed, and we beat West Virginia in the semis, beat them pretty wide margin. And we beat TCU in the championship game, and TCU had an ace pitcher, and we couldn't do anything. And we were losing 1-0 in the 9th inning. We got a run in the 9th somehow. And then in the 10th inning, overtime, we got another run, and we won 2-1 and won the championship. And we won the last Pac-10 tournament championship and the first in the Big 12. So, and I don't know about the other newcomers, CU and Utah and ASU. They may have won some championships too, I don't know, but it's pretty good that U of A would bring them 3 of them in their very first year in the Big 12. So we'll see how they do in baseball, and that softball did pretty good too. They didn't win the championship, but they did pretty good as they usually do. So it was good that the University of Arizona did win 3, including a dramatic come from behind in softball. So that's what I want to talk about was U of A and of course, the NBA, what a dramatic thing. And of course, the UFL. And hopefully interest picks up. I tend to like the G5 Bowls and the UFL because nobody else pays attention much. And they're a lot less expensive because we go to like the bowl in Tucson, the Arizona Bowl. It's only like $20. So it's a steal. One of these G5 Bowls and UFL games is dirt cheap. And so it's easy to get parking. You got plenty of room to spread out. You don't have to wait in line to go to the bathroom or get popcorn or anything like that. So it's a lot of fun. So hopefully more people get interested in G5 bowls and the UFL because it's a lot of fun and they kind of fly under the radar screen and a lot of fun. We've covered some of those 6 overtime games in earlier broadcasts and stuff like that. And of course that shootout last Saturday, I was going crazy. It's a good thing I took the next day off. It was exhausting, but it was fun.
Did you have a prediction for the NBA?
Oh, the NBA championship?
Yeah.
Well, I thought Oklahoma City was going to just steamroll. I mean, even like Charles Barkley said, it was the Oklahoma City Invitational. So, but now with Minnesota just steamrolled them in Minneapolis, this turns everything upside down. It's like, whoa, it could be anyway. I mean, New York, we thought they're not going to take Indiana, and they go beat them last night. So it's like a coin flip, really, Justin. As far as who wins it, I was kind of thinking Oklahoma City. Can you imagine with Oklahoma City win the championship? Well, any of the 4 cities being in so long, and it'll be a wild, a million people celebration type thing. Take the day off from school type thing. Like Kansas City always takes the day off from school and they win it. So I'm sure all the families will come out. Whoever wins it, it's going to be a big, big deal. Because, again, they haven't won it in years. And so it'll be big as long as it's civil. But a prediction, I'll still go Oklahoma City. But again, no disrespect to the other 3 teams because any of them, I mean, Indiana's pretty good too. And
who do you think is going to win Indiana versus New York?
Well, I think in Indiana, but right now it's a coin flip because New York figured out what to do. That 9 deep, like you described earlier in the show, and that coach is pretty good too. And both coaches know their stuff, and so it could go 7. And that Minnesota is making it difficult now for Oklahoma City because they steamrolled them right at the beginning. I mean, so that could go 7 too. So it's pushing. It could be. So I'm still go Oklahoma City, but any of those other 3 could do it. You know, because we've seen some unpredictable things. Look at the Big 12 football. It was so unpredictable. Nobody saw that one coming. So this Final Four we have in the NBA is going to be one of the most historic Final Fours of all time. And that, so, because again, they have that. This is probably, you probably have to check one of those ESPN sports guys to find out the last time the Final Four had teams that hadn't won the title in a long time. It's probably been very rare that we've had back in the 70s. Because when the Sonics won it in 79, what's that, 46 years ago? So, yeah. So 46 years, the latest one. That's got to be a record. So, again, it would be huge for any one of those 4 cities to win it.
Any final closing thoughts?
Well, I'm going to predict the Battlehawks to win the UFL, and I'll predict Oklahoma City to win the NBA. But again, maybe we'll have a podcast and have to, hey guys, the other team won. So you never know how it goes. But I'd just like to make predictions like, the game day guys do all the time, making predictions and that. But that's my predictions on those 2. As far as like college baseball, who knows? The World Series, the College World Series is a big deal. Who knows how that's going to turn out? And that we'll have to see. Maybe in future videos once we get the 8 teams selected, and that it would be big. Yeah. It always is. The World Series is big. Yeah. And that. So again, I don't want to make any predictions. It's way too early on that one. But that's my prediction. How about you, Justin? What do you think? Who do you think?
I think OKC is going to win it all. I think they'll beat Indiana. That one will probably be a better series than if New York were to win, just because Indiana has the best offense, and you want to see the best offense versus the best defense. But I have OKC winning that. One
thing I like about Oklahoma City, this coach is really good. Now I made a comment that Missoula should have won it, but an Oklahoma City coach actually won it. I checked, and he's really good. His teams can make quick decisions on a change of possession or something, know exactly what to do, and he has guys going every direction. They're very well coached. He knows what he's doing, and so that's why they're so good. So you got to give credit to Oklahoma City's coach, and that could mean the difference. And I don't know if they've picked the coach of the year yet, have they, or is it still coming?
I think it could be
later.
I think they did pick it.
They did pick it? Okay.
Oh no, I think it's
coming up. We can have to look.
Yeah.
Anyway, but he's a really good coach because I notice how that operates, and those guys always know what they're doing. And I didn't see the early part of what happened with Minnesota. Maybe they just caught, 2-0. But now they're going to be ready for Game 4 because they got off to a slow start. But they'll be ready for Game 4. That coach is a really good coach, and I see why he did end up winning it last year. And this year, of course, they had the best record.
I think it was Cleveland's coach that won it, Kenny Atkinson.
Oh, he won it.
Because
Okay,
they won 64 games. Because the OKC coach won it last year.
right. Okay, so Cleveland, but then they didn't last as long in the playoffs as they anticipated. But again, OKC is really good, but Minnesota, they showed them they're gonna have to fight for this to win the Western Conference. It's not going to be a cakewalk. Minnesota showed them. But I think that coach is really good. And that's why 10 deep. That's why they're all going to run 10 deep now, because OKC runs 10 deep. You've got to.
Yeah.
So, and he has them going every direction. They're ready for anything at any time. Like when they get a quick rebound, they'll pass it to some guy, and the other team could be sleeping. You can't sleep when Oklahoma City's playing because they just go all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's good. But we'll see how Minnesota, of course, Minnesota's gotten better having to play him all these times. But we'll see how it goes, and they all look really strong. It's gonna be a fun finals.
This has been the Justin Rombough podcast. The Rombough men are back for another edition. Happy Memorial Day to everybody. Thanks for watching.
And a big shout out to all those that did lose their lives protecting the country. That's what today is the honor for. All those in the armed forces that protect us all these years and that, and all the wars and all. And so big shout out to their families and that for protecting us. And this day we do in their honor. And thanks for